Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going to be checking out a revised lesson from Morning Glory by Oasis. It's been a very long time since I did the previous lesson and the channel has been on leaps and bounds since, so I thought this would be a great way to reintroduce the updates for the channel. I think you're all going to really enjoy this one. It's a killer lesson. Please let me know how you get on with it in the comments section below. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Anyway, alongside that, the lovely people at Blackstar have sent me one of their Dep 10 dual drives, and this has become my overdrive of choice. It features in the entirety of this lesson so you can get a better idea of how it sounds, and if you would like to purchase one of these, if you're in the market for an overdrive pedal, you can find the link in the description below. It takes you to my Amazon page where you can buy it there. Anyway, I also used it at the Isle of Wight Festival very recently, and I'm going to put a link for the performance of that in the description below so you can see this pedal in action if you need a little bit more convincing. It's got a great stadium rock sound. Anyway, alongside that, I have got 3 new Patreon tiers for you guys to check out. I've got a lot more on offer and those are going live from today, so please check those out. Anyway, without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the lesson. Let's start by having a look at the introduction lead guitar. The part itself is going to be really simple, but the way in which we create the tone is going to make or break this part. Let me show you the example clip and then I'll break it down. As I mentioned, getting the tone right is going to be key in making this part work. We want to achieve a stadium rock sound, and for myself I'm using the Dep 10 dual drive on its second channel, which is the higher gain setting, and I've boosted the gain up to 3 o'clock, and then with the EQ I've boosted the bass to 3 o'clock, middle at 12 o'clock and treble at 3 o'clock. On top of that, I'm using a nice bit of reverb from the amp dialed up to 3 o'clock, and together they sound like this. So like I said, the part's actually quite simple. We're going to be at the 7th of the G, and we've got our 3 fingers here to support. We're going to play it 4 times and then slowly bend it up a whole tone. So we're taking this D note up to an E note. Again, it just sounds like this. We're now going to have a look at the rhythm section. We're going to start by having a look at the example first, and then I'm going to break it down. Check this out. It's going to be a really fun one to play this, and we're simply going to start with the introduction and verse chords, and we're going to focus on 4 chords, the first of which is going to be an E minor 7. Now that's going to be like a normal E minor, but we're also going to add in the 3rd of the B string, and you can play that with your ring or pinky finger. The second chord we're going to play is going to be a D sus2 chord, which is going to be like a normal D major chord. We're just going to get rid of the 2nd of the E string and play it open. So we've got this. Together, those first 2 chords make up the introduction progression, and rhythmically they just go like this together. Now, I've got a couple of tricks if you want to make that progression a little bit more interesting. First of all, when I play the E minor 7, I quite like to start with the low strings first. So I play the E, A and D strings together, and then afterwards I play the higher strings. So we have something like this. On top of that, I like to add in this transitional riff from the E minor moving into the D, and that simply goes from the third of the E over to the open A string, second of the A, then into the D chord. And it works like this. We start with the E minor chord, we play the low strings and then the high strings afterwards. Then we move our middle finger over to the third of the E, open A, and second fret, and then very quickly we move that over to the D shape. It goes like this. With a faster tempo, it sounds like this. When we move into the verse, we're going to keep playing this riff, but when we get to bars 7 and 8, we're going to introduce two new chords. First of all, we're going to add in A7 sus4, which is going to be very similar to our D sus2. But we're just going to move over our index finger from the second of the G over to the second of the D. And we're going to play that with the open A string as well. So we've got open A, second of the D, open G, third of the B, and open high E. Afterwards, we're going to move into our next chord, which is going to be C add 9, and all we have to do for that is add in our middle finger to the third of the A. In the progression, they sound like this. Now, again, if you want to take some liberties and make the progression a little bit more interesting, I personally quite like to arpeggiate those two chords. When we move over to the A7 sus4, I like to start by playing the open A string and then the D string, and then the high E string and B string. From here, I like to play a transitional note, which is going to be the second of the A, and then move into our C add 9 shape and play the third of the A, then the B string and G string, and then also add in a little extra riff to finish it. Second of the A, open, third of the E, open A. Let me just recap that. So with the A7 sus4, then the transitional note into the C add 9, and the ending riff. At speed, it sounds like this. Moving into the pre-chorus rhythm guitar, we're going to start by focusing on the D sus2 moving over to the C add 9 chord. Rhythmically, it just sounds like this. From here, we're going to move back to the D sus2 and hold on the chord. And then we're going to introduce a new chord, which is going to be a B7. And we're going to play that on the 2nd of the A, middle finger, index finger on the 1st of the D, ring finger on the 2nd of the G. Then we're going to play the open B and then pinky finger on the 2nd of the high E. And when I play that, I quite like to arpeggiate it as well. Again, you don't have to do that, but when I play it, I like to start with the A string, then go to the D, and then G string, and then back again, D and A. Then I like to go to the higher strings, B string, G string, and D string. And then finally, high E string, B string, and G string. And in context, it sounds like this. Moving into the chorus rhythm guitar, we haven't got anything else new to learn here. We're simply going to play the main 4 chords from the verse progression around and around again. So that's going to be E minor 7 moving into D sus2, then A7 sus4 into the C add 9. And you can add in as many of the riffs as you like, or play as few of them as you like. It just sounds like this. We've now arrived at the guitar solo, and this is the most exciting part of the song. It's really, really great work by Noel on this record. We're going to start by having a look at the example and then I'll break it down. Check this out. So to begin with, on the example, I played this on channel 2 again, just like we did with the introduction lead guitar, so higher gain, and I also boosted the reverb on the amp as well. But for the purpose of teaching this part, I'm just going to keep it on channel number 1. I think it gives the notes just a little bit more clarity. Anyway, we're going to break this part into 2 parts, and part number 1 sounds like this. So we are going to start at the 12th fret of our B with our index finger. And we are going to play that, hammer on with our middle finger to the 13th fret and then pull it off again. Afterwards, we're going to move over to the G string, 14th fret, and we're going to go from the 14th to the 12th, and we'll play that twice. Afterwards, we'll land at the 14th of the D. From here, we'll move to the 12th of the D, back up to the 14th, then 12th of the G, 14th of the D, 12th of the G. Together so far. From here, we're going to launch into a bend on the 14th fret. We're going to use our 3 fingers on the G string. We're going to play it, bend it up, then bring in our pinky finger to play the 15th fret of the B, and we're going to ring both of those notes out. And that sounds like this. And I'll just do that again. We are then going to play the 14th of the G and bring it back down. And pull it off to the 12th. We're then going to go back to the 14th of the G and pull it off to the 12th again. And then play the 14th and play the 12th. So together, from here we'll move to the 14th of the D, then 12 to 14, 12 on the G, 14th of the D, 12 on the G. Altogether, part number 1 sounds like this. Part number 2 sounds like this. Again, we are going to start at the 12th of our B, hammering on to the 13th and pulling it off. And similarly, we're then going to move over to the 14th of the G, moving back to the 12th fret, but this time we're going to play it 3 times instead of 2. Then we'll continue on just like before, 14th of the D, 12, 14, 12 on the G, 14th on the D, 12 on the G. So together. And we'll finish by going back to the 14th of the G, 3 fingers, and we're going to play it, bend it up, bring in our pinky finger to the 15th of the B again, and play that and let that ring out. And then we're going to repeat that 4 times. And on the final time, we're going to play it and bring it back down. I'll just do that again. Altogether, parts 1 and 2 sound like this. to wrap things up, we're going to have a look at the extra lead guitar features in Morning Glory. These are going to be completely optional and dependent on what your band lineup is. If you've got the extra guitar player, these parts might be perfect. So the first one is going to be over the pre-chorus sequence, which goes from D sus2 over to C add 9. And it's just going to be a unison bend based at the 12th and 14th frets, index finger at the 12th of the B, and then middle and ring finger supporting on the 14th of the G there. And we're just going to play those together and bend up the G string a whole tone. And we're going to do it again and again. I like to do a rhythm pattern which is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that just sounds like this. If you accidentally play the open E string along with that, that sounds absolutely fine as well. It just goes like this. Moving on from that, there's another bit of lead guitar which features in the choruses and in part in the verses as well. I'll show you the example clip and then I'll break it down. So we are going to be based around the 9th fret of our G. And immediately we can either choose to play it once and let it ring out, or we can play it multiple times to keep up the momentum. And that would sound like this. So I'm playing it 7 times there, doing 2 downstrokes, and then down up, then playing it again, and another up and down. I'll just play that again. So you could either play that or you could just play it the once and let it ring out. Either sounds great, or you can come up with your own rhythm for it. Either way, we're then going to play this. And we're going to move over to the B string, and that's 7th fret, playing it once. Middle finger coming over to the 8th fret, hammer on and pull off. Back to the 9th of the G, and then 7th. And now we can repeat the sequence. Now, if you want to embellish that a bit further, you could also play something like this. And for that, I played the 9th fret of the G twice, moving over to the 8th of the B, then the 10th with my ring finger. And now I'm set up nicely for a bend. We're going to play it, bend it up, play it unbent, then back to the 8th, and then back to our original starting position, 9th of the G, and then you can play that another 2 times. Together. If you wanted to go with that a step further, you could also do this. And that's going to be 9th of the G twice, and then a bit of back and forth between the 8th of the B. We're going to play that, back to the 9th of the G, and then 8th of the B. 10th of the B, back to the 8th, and then 9th of the G again. So all together with the chorus, you could play something a bit like this. With that, we'll conclude our revised lesson on Morning Glory by Oasis. This song is going to be totally dependent on what your band lineup is. If you're the only guitar player in the band, I would highly recommend just focusing on the chords and the guitar solo. And only if you've got an extra guitar player, then think about the intro lead guitar and then the extra verse and chorus parts. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It's been great to be back, and I will see all of you on the next lesson.